How many? How many? How many? How many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
All right, what did I get up to?
Hello, everyone. Happy holidays. This is How Many, the only podcast on the internet that counts. Today, we are joined by Scott, Bob, Gary, and our host of the evening, Junior. Junior, take it away.
Yeah, so I thought it would be a fun idea to kind of look back through the years and the decades to see what was the most popular toys. Obviously, everybody here probably has fond memories of getting their favorite toy for Christmas. So I wanted to make sure on this list that I kind of covered the decades that everybody would not only have the experience of opening presents, but then also buying presents for children as well. I have a baseline of 48 toys spanning 48 different years from 1963 to 2010. So of those 48, how many do you guys think are going to count?
So there's a couple ways to look at this. One, would I have liked this toy if I was, in its age group? Or you could a beating?
Or you could also look at it as the cultural impact it had at the time.
Like a Cabbage Patch doll, which I'm sure is going to be on this list.
Yeah, well, I was thinking like Tickle Me Elmo.
Right.
Another
one's going to be on this list.
Okay.
Yeah, so what we could say is if you don't want to count it, it's because it was a beating either to purchase or a beating to have in the house if you had purchased it. So, Jesse, we'll start with you. Of the 48, how many do you think we're going to count as cool toys?
I'm going to go 25.
Bob?
I'll say 30.
Gary?
37 in a row.
Scott?
I'm going to say 23.
I'm going to go ahead and guess since I don't know how many you guys are going to approve. I'm going to go with 28. So, starting with 1963, we have the Easy Bake Oven.
Only Kenner's Easy Bake Oven set makes such delicious cakes, cookies, candy, brownies, pizza, pies, and biscuits. It bakes like magic with 2 ordinary light bulbs and has a special cooling chamber. Easy Bake by Kenner.
That was the most popular toy from 1963. Now, obviously, this was a decade before I was even born, so I don't have a lot of fond memories of the Easy Bake Oven.
My sister had one, and we thought it was cool. My mom started complaining about the Easy Bake Oven size cake mixes and everything were really expensive. So very quickly, she started just making regular cake mixes and having my sister use that. I always thought it's cool. It's something that it makes you food. I think it's very cool.
Scott?
There was the guy version of it, which I kind of enjoyed.
What, the Easy hot dog maker or something like that?
It was a thing that you made like edible bugs and stuff like that.
See, I'm hoping Creepy Crawlers makes this list.
There you go.
I had a Creepy Crawler and I loved that thing.
Now, I'll tell you how big this had to have been in 1963. I was born in 72, and I remember my sister getting one of these for Christmas, which means that it had to have been at least 74 or 75. And even though it's a decade later, she could not believe she got this thing. So yeah, this has to count.
I agree.
All right, Bob?
Yeah, I would count this because basically anything that creates something, I think, is solid.
So it sounds like we are unanimous. We're going to say yes to the Easy Bake Oven. Moving into 1964, how about the old school G.I. Joe action soldier?
G.I. Joe, fighting man from head to toe, on the land, on the sea, in the air.
G.I. Joe attack!
It's the best.
It's the best. It was, and this was back when they were full size, not the little bitty like Star Wars figures or action figures. I adored my G.I. Joe and all
I
the
had
different,
2 of them.
and then, and you got to buy all the different uniforms, so I mean, it's basically a doll for a guy, his hands all stuck in the same place. He had the little scar. So far, 2 for 2, these are just amazing.
So we're going to go ahead and say yes and push.
I would want one right now.
Yeah.
If someone gave me a full-size replica G.I. Joe, I would.
They came with the Jeeps and everything.
Yeah, I would love
man.
this.
By the 70s, they had little fuzzy hair.
Yes, they did. And the Kung Fu grip.
And Christmas is around the corner, and I ain't gonna have no money to buy my son the G.I. Joe with the Kung Fu grip. Okay?
So we're going to say yes to G.I. Joe.
Yes.
Next up, we have 1965, the Operation board game.
It's Operation, Milton Bradley's goofy game for dopey doctors.
And I didn't realize that Operation had been around for that long. I kind of think of it as an 80s game.
Genius.
Hard as hell to play. I
Yep.
mean, I sucked at this game so bad, but it was always fun to play.
We
Freaking
played
funny
recently,
bone.
It's fun.
Even though the buzzer was a little annoying every time you hit the side,
Yeah.
it was extremely fun to play.
I saw a group of rednecks play this recently, and if you made the nose light up, you actually got tased wherever.
Fun fact, the patient operation is named Cavity Sam.
And yet we never dig out a tooth.
All right, moving on to 1966, we have Twister.
Right foot blue,
Right foot blue.
left hand red,
Left hand red.
left
Right
yellow,
blue.
green.
Yeah, Twister.
So many naked games of Twister.
Yeah, you had to have the baby oil with it.
And that is a very interesting fun fact, by the way. Originally named Pretzel and was criticized in the 60s for being sex in a box.
They were right.
Hell yes.
So I always thought this was a beating, but I certainly recognize that it was this cultural, because not just the
Phenomenon.
kids. Yeah, well, I will vote for it.
It was developed during the rise of this swingers society.
It was also the forerunner to the jump to conclusions mat.
You see, it would be this mat that you would put on the floor and would have different conclusions written on it that you could jump to.
That is the worst idea I've ever heard in my life, Tom.
Yes, it's horrible, this idea.
All right, so we're going to say yes to Twister. Moving on to 1967, we have You Sank My Battleship.
Battleship! Battleship! Battleship, Milton Bradley's great game of strategy. It's loaded with action and suspense.
Oh, you sound like Battleship.
Whether it's electronic or this was, with a peg, Battleship's fun.
The first iconic toy commercials I can remember.
You sank
Yes.
my Battleship. Yeah.
Now, I will say, I always thought Battleship was a beating, but again, just like with Twister, I recognize its cultural impact on society. So you have to kind of vote for it.
And both had movies made based on those games.
this was a fun game, because this was just you and a buddy could play this.
All right, moving into 1968, we have the greatness of Hot Wheels.
Get Mattel's new Hot Wheels, the fastest metal cars you've ever seen.
Ah, yes.
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 Hold on,
So
just a
awesome.
Let me show you something.
You've got to include the track, that orange track that you
track.
could whip people with that track.
And the little tongues that go to separate, connected.
I'm appreciative of the track, but I grew up outdoors where we used our hands in the dirt and we made tracks. Look at Scott.
Yeah, Scott is right now showing us
yes.
his
Carrying
Hot Wheels
case.
collection carrying
Oh, that
case.
is awesome.
That is a Krager SST carrying case.
I loved Hot Wheels. I loved the Matchbox cars. I don't know if that was before this time, but
Got a bunch of them in there.
All right, so it sounds like Hot Wheels
Oh,
is
that's
the
a
first ballot.
massive-
Oh,
Yeah.
that
Massive
is-
first
yes.
ballots left and right.
Oh, absolutely.
Now, this next one, I think we may get our first no because it doesn't sound that great. The generic chemistry set by Handy Andy, which was a grocery store. Does
Those
anybody
are-
have any love for the chemistry set?
Has anybody seen what they do with these today? There was some legit dangerous stuff that was sent
Yes.
to kids in these things, like radioactive material and things of that
Plutonium?
nature were sent out. And it's actually crazy the stuff that they were sending out to kids with these things. So yeah, I'm going to say no on that one, but
Yeah, no.
All right, so Gary and Scott, you guys are no. Jesse,
I never wanted one of these. It just felt too much.
It felt like school.
It felt like school, and it felt like I'm gonna have to work, and it's not gonna work right. So no, I would vote no for this.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm in agreement. This is going to be our first no. Moving into 1970, we have Light Bright.
Light Bright, the toy that lets you create beautiful pictures with light.
making things that fly.
You can make lots of pretty pictures with Light Bright from Hasbro.
Another great commercial.
Yes, very
Light
popular
Bright,
commercial.
Things with fly.
There was a Light Bright iPad ad. I need to check that out.
I got in so much trouble for playing my sister's Light Bright.
Yeah, there was a lot of fun with, spelling bad words and stuff.
Now, Light Bright was one, if I remember correctly, I got bored with it. But, originally it's a lot of fun.
I was actually going to
had
say
one.
no. I didn't really enjoy this one all that much. Thought it was kind of boring.
I had one. My only complaint with it was that after you used the little paper things
Like paper thing.
that tell you where to put the little lights,
Yeah.
after that, it's kind of useless.
Yeah.
And I put a light bulb in it that was a little too bright and it melted it.
Oh,
I'm going to say no, because now that you mentioned that, Scott, I do remember having that problem.
I'm a yes, just because, like I said, it wasn't mine, it was my sister's. So I didn't have the burnout problems or anything like that.
Okay.
It was fun because I wasn't supposed to use it, and then I would do it and get in trouble. But I didn't love it so much that I'm going to fight over it.
Yeah, same. I liked it, but I'm not going to use an exemption.
yeah. Let's say no on this one, just to keep things a little balanced. Next up, 1971, Space Hoppers. Anybody familiar with this one? I don't know this one at all.
I remember vaguely, but I remember it more the big ball with a handle.
Yeah, the round handle. Yeah.
This looks spare to me.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm going to vote no on this one.
Yeah,
too.
if you see at the bottom, it says the Space Hoppers was popular in the UK, while in the US, they were commonly referred to as hippity hops, which I remember.
Yeah, I remember the hippity hops.
Hippity hop, pop, hippity hop.
Yep.
Look at
All right, so we'll say no to the hippity hopper space hoppers.
Oh.
All right, 1972, we have the greatness of Uno.
I did not know that was that old.
Yeah, me neither.
I
I
didn't
thought this
either.
was an 80s thing as well.
I did.
I'm going to say no because nobody seems to know the rules of the game.
I know the rules. Love Uno. I'm a yes.
Everybody argues.
Uno is one of those games you can just kind of almost, because it's pretty simple, yellow on yellow and the 3 on a 3 and the
We would play
wild.
in
And
We'd play in the back seat of the car. We were getting taken places. Yep.
It's teaching kids how to play cards, basically.
yeah, I'm a fan of Uno.
Yeah, I like Uno also. So let's go ahead and count that one. All right, moving into 1973, we have walkie-talkie sets.
Radio Shack has a great space age gift for kids at a down-to-earth price. The original Space Patrol walkie-talkie. Just $14.95 a pair, and they really work.
I
Nice.
thought those were around before then, actually. I'm surprised
Yeah.
they weren't around sooner.
Maybe as a kid's toy, the other ones were probably more utility.
Yeah.
How come we haven't come up with a better name for it?
Walkie-talkies. I don't know.
Walkie-talkies.
Well, you're walking and you're talking. I'm going to say no because it's a game you're supposed to play with someone. You get these, and who do you talk with?
Yeah, if you don't have a friend, you're screwed.
My cousin and I had a lot of fun with walkie-talkies, but my mom lived in like 163 acres way out in the country. And the range on these things was the ones that we had were not great, but it was enough that we could be nowhere near each other and still hear each other in a world that didn't include cell phones. We thought that was very cool.
You know what? I think you're right. I say yay.
Yeah, I'll count them. They were cool. They were fun.
I would have said no because I'm with Scott that if you didn't have somebody else to actually be on the other line, it's pretty spare. But we do have 3 votes, so we will count the walkie-talkie. Okay. All right, moving into 1974, we have the Tonka Toy Truck.
Give your children Tonka toys and you've started something. They're fun and they last. So very few families who have Tonka toys have only one. In fact, the average is 7 per family.
Ah, yes.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
This is a first ballot similar to the Hot Wheels, right?
Yes,
everybody?
it is. Yeah.
I think so.
I honestly think I got a Tonka truck even earlier than 74.
And maybe this is the year it just became
It was the
popular.
top
for
seller.
Christmas.
I think they
It's
just got
such
big
a
on them.
strong,
Oh, they were
well-built
metal.
toy. I mean,
Yes.
they're just.
I'll tell you, somewhere right off of Country Club Road in Hallsville, Texas, there is one of those that got buried and we never found it.
Wow.
Yeah, like if you left one out in the rain, it would rust.
Oh, yeah.
It would be. Yeah.
Well,
But they made great transports for all of your action figures.
Yes, it would be. Yeah.
All right, so we are going to say yes to the Tonka toy. Moving into one of the sparest toys, and I put that in quotes.
Oh,
1975, the year of the whip pet rock.
Terrible.
Now, I still, for the life of me, do not understand why this would be the most popular and highest selling toy for Christmas. Makes
It was a
even worse.
fad.
It was only popular for 6 months, but it sold 1.5 million of them.
Yeah, that guy was
So-
a genius.
I
has
never
gotta be
had
a
a
no,
pet
right?
rock. Don't want one. I would vote no.
I love how they cut air holes in the box.
Yes, in the nest. I do think it's a little genius, but yes.
All right, so no's all around for this. So let's move into 1976.
This better be what I think it is.
We have Connect 4.
I won. Where? I can't. Here, diagonally. Pretty sneaky, sis.
Connect 4, the vertical checkers game from Milton Bradley.
Is Connect 4 a solid game? I love Connect 4.
We have a giant Connect 4 at work. This is fun. Yeah, I would vote yes.
The reason that I have good memories of this is because there was times where I was at daycares and things like that, and this was always one of the most popular games being played. It was almost like putting the quarter on the arcade. You had to wait in line for your turn, and whoever won got to stay on. So I thought it was a lot of fun. I loved it.
The pieces were never all there. I don't think I ever played that game where all of the pieces were there. It's like, okay,
they're basically just checker pieces. You could mix and match.
Like you, Bob, I would have guessed Evel Knievel.
Yes, I cannot believe that's not here.
Motorcycle?
Yeah.
Yes.
I had the motorcycle.
Yeah. So because of that slight, do you want to say no to Connect 4, Bob?
No, Connect 4 is legit.
Gary?
I'm in.
All right. So we are going to count Connect 4. Moving into 1977, and I think this was the start of a wave of these kinds of toys. The Star Wars action figures.
It's Kenner's Star Wars action figures.
Someone's coming, Chewie. Who's there? It's Princess Leia and Luke Skywalker. Now I know the Force is with us.
Which obviously turned into a lot of action figures for a lot of different movies and cartoons and things like that. We were recently at a friend's house, me and Gary were, where somebody had a room dedicated to Star Wars action figures.
One of our most dedicated listeners.
Yes.
Lyle
former
will hear
special
this.
guest host, Lyle Jones.
What would you estimate the street value of that room was?
Thousands, consequently millions.
As they mentioned this, right? Because no one expected Star Wars to blow up the way it was, in 77, they didn't have any toys ready. So, you got a box or a little certificate saying, hey, you're going to get these later. So it's the first time kids got an IOU for Christmas, right? Yeah, this is genius.
I would be willing to bet that Lyle has everything in this picture. He's got so much of this stuff. It's amazing.
And it was interesting. His favorite action figure from Star Wars was the Greedo character that got shot by Han Solo.
Over my dead body.
Yes,
I bet you have. Sorry about the mess.
Yeah.
He had 8 different variations of it, including a giant head just sitting on a shelf. I did not understand the infatuation.
I know Bob did this, but several years ago, Lynn and I were driving up to St. Louis, and we stopped in Oklahoma at the Action Figure Museum, and it was so much fun to see.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And it turns out all you had to do was go to Keller.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
So,
Star Wars, yes.
Everybody's a yes on Star Wars, right?
I never owned a single Star Wars figure, toy, anything.
It may have been a little bit after your time, though, right?
Yeah, you were already in high school or junior high at that point, Scott.
70s, I was in junior high. Yeah.
See, so I was in high school. I graduated in 77, but was always, loved them.
As much as I loved the movie, it was just never one of those things that were like, yeah, I just got to have those.
Yeah, I guess I'm the same way. I love the Star Wars movies, but I've never had any of the action figures.
I was buried right in the middle of it. I was 5 years old. All of this would have been amazing, but we were too poor for stuff like that. They're $10 a piece. It says right there. They're retail for $9.99.
Yeah, that's it. With inflation.
How
That's
much
like
money that was
$1,000 right now.
About $1,000, but it was a lot for poor folks, and we were definitely that.
Gary, did your dad whittle you a Chewbacca figure out of a stick?
He did make me a gun out of a block of wood, but
that's pretty cool.
Once again, didn't make this list, but I loved the Johnny West doll. They had a Calvary one and a Native American one, except they didn't call it Native American then. And I also had the Knights. They had the armor that you put on and all these little pieces.
All right. So moving into 1978, we have Simon.
Simon is a master. He tells you what to do, but you can master Simon if you follow every clue. And if you think Simon's fun at the party, wait till you play it alone.
Simon with 5 ways to play from MB Electronics.
Is everybody on board with Simon?
I still have mine.
And
what an interesting fun fact, too. launched at Studio 54 in New York City in 1978. At Studio 54, they were sitting around playing Simon while they were hooked up.
Snorting coke.
To prove Gary's point right on this, it said that it retailed for $24.99, which is equivalent to $91 in 2015. So that $9.95 would have been what, $40, $50?
$40, $50, yeah.
Yeah. We didn't own one, but like a cousin did. And so played it. Now, this is something that could get boring after a while, but the initial newness of it and trying to beat it was pretty interesting. So
Oh, man.
I'm saying, yeah.
I never had the patience to really get very far with it.
So are you a no, Scott?
No. I think it was a genius game, but I just
wasn't very good at it.
All right. So is everybody a yes for Simon then? I was actually going to
yes
say
for
no.
Simon.
I thought this game was kind of a whip.
Simon was awesome.
Okay.
Junior preferred to play Simone.
Moving into 1979, we have one of the greatest games or toys ever invented, the greatness of the Atari.
Anyone for Atari?
She beat me again?
The Atari video computer system is 20 cartridges with 1,300 game variations you play on your own TV set.
Yeah, but that's not the 2600.
Yeah, the 2600.
Yeah,
this is the predecessor for that.
Yeah, I will say this is not the best Atari, but I don't believe the 2600 made the list. So this will be the only
Also
instance of
shocking.
Atari.
So at this point, I'm 2 years out of high school. I'm sure this was really expensive. So I don't remember owning an Atari, though I'm sure I was jealous of people that did. Yeah, I think absolutely this is cool.
I mean, just from a cultural impact standpoint,
Yeah.
I think it's one of those ones you have to kind of rubber stamp.
Jesse, that thing was $189 when it was introduced, which is the equivalent of $811 in 2020.
It shocks you. It shocks you.
So even though this was not the best iteration of Atari, I think we're going to count this one, right?
Oh,
Yeah, absolutely.
I had Pong.
All right, moving into 1980, we have the Rubik's Cube.
Warning, once you get your hands on Rubik's Cube, you may never be able to put it down. Rubik's Cube, over 3 billion combinations, but just one solution from Ideal.
So spare.
Which I thought was kind of a whip game, I guess you could say, or toy. It's kind of a combination of both. But the cultural impact again was massive. You couldn't get away from them. They were all over the place. And in pieces too, because all those stupid little plastic pieces kept falling off every time you got a little too aggressive trying to get the patterns to line up.
So one of the other podcasts, Abracadabra, which is Matt Donnelly, who is one of the writers on
Is it a
Fool
Steve
Us.
Miller podcast?
No, and he.
So that is his best song.
The Penn and Teller show Fool Us. If the magician shows a Rubik's Cube in their little pre-video tape, they take a drink because it happens that often. So Rubik's Cubes are still huge. And there are competitions on how fast you can move it. We have a couple in our training lab. And whenever I pick it up, and I always go, I should take the time to learn how to do these, because I know once you learn the pattern, then it's just speeding over and over and over again. They can be a beating, but they certainly have lasted forever.
There was a kid from Lake Dallas that was on That's Incredible
Yeah.
in the competition that they did.
They have a Rubik's Cube club at my school.
That's pretty amazing,
That's
right?
a yes.
That, yeah, absolutely.
All right,
Yeah.
so we will say yes then to the Rubik's Cube. Moving into 1981, we have the Lego train set. Anybody a fan of the Lego train?
No.
I don't remember this. Now, I love Legos.
Yeah, Lego's pretty solid in general.
I don't have the train. I don't remember this, but I loved Legos. And so I'll vote for this just because it's in the Lego family.
I never owned Legos, but my son has a ton of Legos, and I think they were genius. Why they're singling out the train, I don't know.
I guess it was just the highest paid.
Yeah,
Now,
it must have been the highest grossing toy
Yeah,
during
it
that time
is.
frame.
It had bells and whistles.
I'm a no on the train. Yes on Lego, no on train.
I mean, I'm not going to say keep it out. If everybody liked it, then that's great. I just never had Legos.
In the spirit of trying to be balanced, I'm going to say no. Next up, 1982, we have one of the first outdoor ones, or few ones.
The BMX
bike.
For every Schwinn BMX that makes headlines winning a race, thousands of other Schwinns win races. never hear about.
Not only
Specifically,
do
they have a picture of the mongoose one too, which
that
is even cooler.
I had that mongoose. It wasn't red, and I had mag wheels, but that is the mongoose that I had.
Yeah, I am a big yes on this one.
Yeah, I think it's got to be.
Massive yes.
Yeah.
That is the best. I haven't even seen the rest of your list. That's the best thing on the list.
And it was a little behind me.
But I will say, getting a new bike for Christmas was usually one of the better Christmases.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, getting a bike, was
a bike for Christmas has got to be the greatest.
You know, how you hide it, your parents hide it. A lot of great stories that Linda and Mary had to go bring out the garbage. And then when they came back in, the bikes were there. Getting a bike is just the best.
All right, now we have probably most popular toys of all time, even though I don't think any of us had any firsthand experience with this one. 1983 Cabbage Patch Kids.
They're one of a kind. They're Cabbage Patch babies. You can give them all of your love.
Which obviously was a huge phenomenon in the 80s. You couldn't even find one in the store. They sold out so fast. Recently, there was a movie on HBO Max called 8-Bit Christmas, and it was about craze of Nintendo and all of the toys back then, and Cabbage Patch Kids was one of the big ones that they kind of focused on.
That was a good movie. It was like Christmas Story, but with the Nintendo instead of the
It was
Red Ryder
solid.
video.
It looked good. So, yeah.
Yeah, I liked it.
I don't think anyone could say no to this cultural phenomenon.
This was one of the first toys that was so big, it like made the news. Like stores were out of them and that people were going ape-ass trying to, beat each other up in the store. Basically, this is kind of where the Costanza, I was raining blows down. I always think of Cabbage Patch Dolls.
Yes,
but that's
exactly.
the Festivus story.
As I rained blows upon him, I realized there had to be another way.
What happened to the doll?
It was destroyed.
Good.
All right, so we're all a yes for Cabbage Patch Kids, right?
Absolutely.
Yep.
Only because of the phenomena. But I think that the phenomena was, it was short-lived. And it was just, it's gone. Bye, see you later.
And really, the main thing driving it was that they had those like birth certificates or whatever with them. It's it wasn't even just the doll, but that you like actually had some sort of certificate of ownership.
Birth certificates or something.
Yeah, or something.
And I heard you like talking about like Beatles or something.
Yeah.
All right, so moving into 1984, we have not only one of my favorite cartoons of all time, but one of my favorite toys of all time, the greatness of the Transformers.
The Transformers, more than meets the eye.
Attack the Autobot Commander! Call in the Decepticon leader!
Transformers, more than meets the eye.
The Transformers from Hasbro.
I loved Transformers when I was a kid. This is 84. I was like 9 years old. This is absolutely in my wheelhouse. I couldn't get enough of these. I had tons of Transformers.
So I missed this. So I don't remember watching the cartoon because I wasn't watching cartoons. But like, I would like if someone gave me a Transformer right now, like that plane that turns into a robot. That would be cool. So yes, absolutely. This is a cool toy.
It never even made my radar. I didn't like the cartoon. I thought it was kind of a stupid concept.
Here's one that's a
no.
little bit shocking. I was 12 in 84. I didn't watch the cartoon. I never had one of these toys because scroll back up to the BMX bike. I mean,
You're too busy riding around.
Yeah.
But once I had that bike, that was it. That's all we did was ride our bicycles, fish, and play sports. Now, I can tell you all my friends love these things, so I'll say yes and count it, but it wasn't me.
I mean, yeah, it was definitely like, that's the year I graduated high school. So I had no direct contact with it, but those are pretty cool. I mean, I understand why they were so big. I'd count them.
They're still big.
That was probably one of the first toys that there was that direct synergy between the toy and the cartoon.
I think we have enough to count it. I was going to use an exemption if we didn't, because this is probably a top 5 for me. So moving into 1985, the number one toy on my list all time, the greatness of the original Nintendo Entertainment System.
When you get hold of the Nintendo Entertainment System, when you play the system with so many arcade hits, you're playing with power.
So I have to count this one.
And absolutely.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Massive. The Atari
Never had
2600 was my first one,
Oh, snap.
but I think that one was probably my most beloved.
Yeah, Nintendo was after for me, but I'll count it. I still was more of an Atari kid, but yeah, I'll count Nintendo.
The cultural impact of Nintendo. I mean, just the fact that they would make a movie about it now for something that was going on 40 years ago or whatever,
and
kind of shows the staying power.
And if you see someone dressed up like the Mario Brothers, you know exactly who they are.
So, what was the game that came with it? Was it Duck Hunt or was it Mario?
It was both. It was.
Watch how you say that, sir. You know what you did.
It wasn't Leisure Suit Larry.
No, that was a PC game. Yeah, it came with Super Mario Brothers, Duck Hunt, and if you were like me and had the one that came with the Rob the Robot, it came with Gyromite. And the robot had these little spinning...
Gyromite.
J.J. Walker.
For some reason, the robot came with these spinning discs that were supposed to be interacting with the game, but I could never get them to work at all. That game was actually a massive whip, but obviously Super Mario Brothers has massive staying power.
So Linda's brother, Ralph, when we go visit them, because once you said Duck Hunt, I thought of that. I would play Duck Hunt with my nieces and nephews. So yeah, great stuff.
Moving into 1986, another one that I have very fond memories of, the greatness of laser tag.
On my signal, begin.
Laser tag, the game that moves at the speed of light. From Worlds of Wonder Stadium not included.
They had a
Which also had a cartoon.
Oh my gosh.
Absolutely. There was a cartoon. It was
a cartoon.
Massive. Yes, it was massive in the 80s. Now, this was already after you guys had gotten out of the toy business, but for somebody that grew up in the 80s like me, this was big time. I loved laser tag.
So I remember, like going to the bowling alley or where they had laser tag, right? Where you would go to these entertainment centers. I'd forgotten that they were home based. It means nothing to me. I always got shot like right away because I was the fat, slow guy. But in honor of your love, Junior, I'm going to say yes.
All right, Scott.
No.
Gary?
I've got no problem with this. We played the poor kids version of it. We shot each other with BB guns, but you don't need a light to light up. If you shoot somebody with a BB gun, they will definitely let you know.
Yeah, just look for the blood.
Clods.
The well.
Gary, you are country.
Bob, sounds like you're the tiebreaker.
I'm going to say no.
Wow.
Down with laser tag.
All right. I'm going to save my exemption. Moving into 1987, we have Jenga, which I didn't realize was that old. I thought Jenga was actually something in the 90s.
I thought Cuban invented that.
Is this the strip version? Is this the stripped version?
There is always some kind of strip version of whatever home game Scott is playing. So this is a big bar game still to this day. Like you go to a bar and they have some kind of Jenga setup. Stood the test of time, I guess.
I just mentioned, Ralph and Tyler, they have a full size, sits on a table. And once again, how genius, such a simple game. It's cool.
Yeah. You got to love a game like this where there's no rule book. You have to spend 20 minutes reading to figure out how to play it.
Yeah.
Good point, Bob. Yes.
Yeah. It's not a whip like Monopoly where you have to figure out what the hell's going on with all the money and everything. I would say yes to this one too. Scott?
I'll give it a yes.
Gary?
Oh, yeah. Jenga's great.
All right, so we will say yes to Jenga. The next one is actually very geared towards sports. I didn't remember it being this popular, though. 1988, the starting lineup figurines, which came with the baseball cards. I remember this, but I didn't remember it being so big that it would actually be the top-selling toy. But I loved them. I remember I have some of these. They were pretty cool.
Lyle has a lot of them still in the back package, just like that.
Yes, absolutely.
And I had none of these, and I don't care anything about it.
I don't have any of those.
So, Gary, you're a no. Jesse?
I'm a no.
Yeah, I'm going to go with this is more of a collection than a toy. Like G.I. Joe, yes, if you had a mint G.I. Joe in box, it would be worth a lot of money, but we played with the G.I. Joe. This was more of you're collecting it. Yes. So I'm going to vote no.
Yeah, I'm out. Starting lineups failed.
1989, we go back to the video game the Nintendo Game Boy.
All the power and excitement of Nintendo right in the palm of your hand. Introducing Game Boy. It's portable, it's in stereo, and its games are interchangeable. Game Boy comes complete with batteries and the outrageous new game Tetris.
The first time you could play portable Nintendo. I definitely had one of these. I loved it. Spent a lot of hours on it. I would vote yes.
I never had one, but I understood. I get why they're cool.
The game changer.
Brad Paisley in one of his songs talked about that he, spent all these quarters at the arcade and now then he can get Pac-Man on his phone.
Right.
So yeah, this is great.
I had that.
Scott, you had a Game Boy?
Yeah, I had a Game Boy. That's the only video game thing I ever had. And what's interesting is my son had the Game Boy Color, and he just recently came over to the house and got it because evidently it's making a resurgence of some sort.
Yeah, like they're considered collector's items now, like especially if you have the old games. It's very retro these days. What game were you actually playing on Game Boy? I mean, it came with Tetris, so
yeah,
I assume
played
that's
Tetris,
what you were playing.
obviously, but Legend of Zelda, played that one a lot. And I had to call the phone number, the 1-800 number, and get some 13-year-old kid to help me defeat
You
the
called
boss or something.
the game hotline?
Yes.
Right?
I'm a yes on the Game Boy.
And Bob, you said it was a game changer, so I assume you're
Yeah, definitely would count the Game Boy.
Honestly, I'm going to say that I'm a little surprised by Scott's answer there, although maybe he used it during refractory periods.
I'm sure there was some strict version of Tetris.
I'm already a couple of years deep into discovery of girls at that point. I had no use whatsoever for a Game Boy.
Sounds like we have enough. We're going to go ahead and say yes to the Game Boy. Moving into 1990, we run into the kind of short-lived fad of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. From Playmates.
Which was obviously a big cartoon in addition to having the toys. It was very, very big at that time. There was movies.
There was Vanilla Ice.
It's kind of come back, but I think it did have kind of a little
Turtles, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Heroes in a Half Shell, Turtle Power.
Yeah. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Heroes in a Half Shell,
Turtle Power. So Jesse, what do you think?
Oh yeah, I think they were great. Linda was pregnant, and during a Maz class, they said bring something that you can have her focus on. And I bought the I think it's Leonardo, which is the purple and gold stuffed Ninja Turtle. I just loved it. I just loved the whole concept of teenagers, and comic books were all big. There was the Teen Titans and the New Mutants. Ninjas were big, Frank Miller and everything. And then just to throw them as turtles was just hilarious. Yeah, I'm a big yes.
Scott?
No. I did not understand the appeal of the Mutant Ninja Turtles. I had briefly read the old indie comic book. Didn't enjoy that much. The resurgence I've just never gotten.
Yeah, I always found them to be pretty spare. I'm out.
Gary?
I'm a yes. Love the movies.
Yeah, I'm a yes too.
Fun.
I love the movie, love the cartoon. I think it's greatness. All right, moving into 91, going back to the video game we have possibly one of the greatest video game systems of all time, the Super Nintendo. And specifically, the game that is pictured in this website was my favorite video game of all time, the greatness of Street Fighter II.
Street Fighter II is on Super Nintendo. From the arcades, the ultimate combat game. Super Nintendo with Street Fighter II. It's unbeatable.
Which not only did I spend thousands of dollars in the arcade to hone my craft, I spent thousands of hours at home playing Street Fighter II. That's the number one game of all time for me. So I have very fond memories of the Super Nintendo.
Yeah, I mean, I think if it's a video game, I'm going to vote yes, because they were huge. In a lot of ways, it's genius. Operation is operation, right? You may change a few little things. You may change the packing. Battleship later became electronic, but video games, every 2 or 3 years, you've got a new version. And they have a market now where the kids want the latest version, but the adults want the latest version. So yeah, This is cool.
All right, Scott?
I never owned one and didn't get the appeal, but I understand the impact that it made. So yeah.
Yeah, I would count Super Nintendo.
100%. So
Awesome.
many late drunken nights.
Moving into 92, we have the Barbie Dream House whip toy that obviously none of us played with.
That this is 92?
Yeah, like I would have thought this would have been
1978 or something.
So Chris was born in 89. I will tell you, he got invited to Maddie Lisco's birthday party. And so all of a sudden we had to leave the boys section of Toys R Us to the girls section, and it was like, this is a world we've never seen before. I mean, this was totally different for us. This is the same thing as if you were buying the Enterprise bridge for all the Star Trek or the Millennium Falcon. This would be so cool if you had a child that like to play with Barbies. So yes, this is very cool.
All right. So Jesse, you're a yes. Scott?
No.
Yeah, I'm gonna say no.
Chairs.
I would count Barbie, but not the Dream House.
Gary?
Why does the dream house have chairs? Barbie's legs don't bend.
I don't know why this makes a difference to me, but if this was 1978, I would say yes. But in 1992, the gaming systems were getting so advanced and cool by then. This seems spare to me. So if this had been a decade and a half earlier, I think I'd say yes. But knowing what was available in 92, this is spare to me.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think if it was a decade earlier, it would be more groundbreaking. This just feels like a reissue of something they had probably already released.
I think at that time that the Barbie was getting a resurgence of some sort.
Yeah, she ran for president in 92.
All right, so it sounds like we are no's for the Barbie Dream House.
Yep.
So moving into 93, does anybody remember the Talk Boy?
You can have lots of high-tech fun with Tiger's Talk Boy tape recorder.
Hey, stop drooling on me. Hey, stop drooling on me.
Tiger's Talk Boy tape recorder comes with audio cassette. Batteries not included.
Yeah, wasn't that in a Home Alone movie?
Yeah, that was Home Alone.
That's the fun fact down here, that it was a prop in Home Alone Part 2, Lost in New York. So I guess it's just like a recording machine.
You could change your voice.
Yeah, you could slow it up and speed it up and stuff like that.
Merry Christmas, you filthy animal.
Keep the change, you filthy animal.
Can you just record normally? Because I will tell you, one of my coolest Christmas gifts, I didn't think about it till now, was one of those cassette recorders. Ones that look like
the Radio Shack ones.
Yeah.
Or like rectangular, and they had the big buttons on the end.
Right.
Yeah, I got one of those like in the 70s.
Yeah. I love that thing. I
never had one of those.
TV shows. Yeah.
My sister had one, and she used to she would pretend she was interviewing people, and she would make me be the people she was interviewing.
So I think this looks a little spare, so I'm going to say no.
Right. So Jesse, you're a no. Scott, you're a no.
Seems kind of cool to me. If I was a kid when that came out, I would have wanted one.
I was not a kid by now. I was not aware of this until now. I think that makes it a little bit spare. I would have thought if this was like a really big deal, I would have known about it.
All right, so you're a no, and you know what? I'm a no too. Moving into 94, we have the Mighty Morphine Power Rangers.
It's the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Green Ranger and his Dragon Dagger. I don't like the name of that tool.
Believe me, it's a hit.
The Power Ranger Dragon Dagger from Bandai. Too hot to handle.
Which obviously was a big TV show in the mid-90s. And obviously because of that, it had a toy line. And what's funny is they had to take the Mighty Morphine part of the title out because it was too closely associated with drug use. So they just changed their name to the Power Rangers.
Yeah.
Chris loved watching the Power Rangers. Not one of my favorites. Batman, the animated series, the X-Men animated series at the time. I was not impressed with Power Rangers. There just was so much instability. So I'm going to vote no.
It's a no.
Yeah, I'll say no. They're more spare than Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Who was not spare, by the way. Gary?
Exactly. Thank you, Junior.
Yeah, they're a no. It was never a thing for me.
Yeah, I'm out on them too. Power Rangers were spare. All right, moving into 95.
Although, real quickly, wasn't Bryan Cranston a bad guy in Power Rangers originally?
He was in the movie.
Movie.
I think he played. Brian Cranston played
the Blue Meth Ranger. 1995, we have Beanie Babies, which anybody that listened to the rant in the early 2000s will remember the South African guy
JW,
trying to hard sell us on Beanie Babies.
Beanie Babies.
So obviously this was a huge craze. It was the Cabbage Patch Kids of the 90s, I would think. I'm inclined to say yes just because of the cultural impact, but the toys themselves were pretty spare.
I'm going to say no because once again, it was more of a collectible than a toy.
Yeah, you know what? I kind of agree with that. People weren't buying them to play with them. They were buying them because they would increase in value depending on how rare they were.
They thought
I don't think kids were the ones who were getting them. It It was the
It's the
adults.
adults.
No, thumbs down on the Beanie Baby.
I'm okay with that being an out. By the way, so the note on Bryan Cranston, he provided the voices of Snizzard and Twin Man during the first season of the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers.
Ah, okay. No wonder they brought him back. It was kind of a retro thing to bring him back for the movie. All right, so we're going to say no to Beanie Babies. We're going to move into 96. And one of the biggest whip toys in the history of ever, the Tickle Me Elmo.
Tickle Time Elmo gets everyone laughing. Tickle Time Elmo.
Elmo, to begin with, is a whip character on Sesame Street. So to have a portable home version of him, big thumbs down.
Junior?
That's a pretty solid fake Elmo. This is a big thumbs down for me.
I'm a thumbs down on Tickle Me Elmo.
I mean, if we're going to your cultural impact, Junior, that was huge.
It was massive. So if you want to count it for that, I mean, I would have a hard time arguing.
Did it last? I mean,
Elmo is still a character on Sesame Street.
But does the doll last?
I say yes for Elmo.
The box with the little word caption, ha ha he just kind of signifies how much of a beating this toy actually was.
Man, I'm on the fence. I think I'm a no, though. It is a whip.
If I said Katy Perry in an Elmo shirt, does that sway you at all?
Oh, yeah.
Those are some bazooms. Like a pow. Like a big bad boom.
It helps,
That's greatness.
but it doesn't overcome the whip factor of the toy.
I'm a yes on Elmo. We can call it a whip if we wanted to, but God, that thing was just massive.
It really was massive. That might be the number one most massive during any concentrated run. It was so big.
That one and the Cabbage Patch dolls are the ones that I remember. Just
Didn't
literally
Elmo...
on the news.
So I think it's 3-2.
You tickled
no's. So we're going to move forward with no, even though it was a massive, massive pop culture thing. 1997, we have the Tamagotchi.
Tamagotchi, the original virtual reality pen. Your care determines the pets you get from Bandai.
Does anybody have any fond memories of the Tamagotchi?
No.
I know people, but no, not for me.
So Chris had one of these, and I remember bringing the damn thing to Bank Tech because he couldn't take care of it during school, and I'm sitting there in my office
having to feeding
this freaking thing and doing that. Yes, so
I would have let it die.
Yeah,
me too.
I didn't want to break my son's heart.
I think
I say no.
I say no too. I think this was a massive whip.
Yeah.
Was it named after the noted Olympic figure skater Christy Tamagotchi?
That's a no for me.
All right, moving into 1998, another whip toy. Man, this was the decade of whip toys.
Yeah, boy, it was.
The Furby.
Let's play Furby Says.
Tickle.
Tickle. Tickle.
Furby plays with you.
Furby wins.
And with each other, too.
Very Tickle Me Elmo-ish whip
Kind of a
toy.
gremlin looking thing.
Yeah.
The scary Furby made this worth it.
I'm going to say no. I don't remember much about it. I recognize it, but I don't remember Chris getting one. I just don't have any good memories about it, so I'm going to say no.
It was featured heavily in the movie Uncut Gems. Adam Sandler was trying to sell
That's
Kevin
enough
Garnett.
reason to hate it.
Yeah, there you go.
He was trying to sell Kevin Garnett the gold Furby, but yeah, this toy is a whip. I'm out on it. Looks like everybody's a no, right?
Yeah, I'm a no.
All right, moving into 99, we have another giant cultural phenomenon still going today, Pokemon cards.
Yeah, that's massive.
Yeah, Pokemon was pretty big.
And it's still going strong, like
movies,
video games, cartoons.
This was one of those things where you collect and you played, though. So I'm
Was
okay
this
with it.
also the era of Pogs?
I
don't
believe
know.
so.
Or like Magic the Gathering cards, where you could play the cards. So,
Pog is not on this list, but I'm sure it was the same time frame that all of that was going.
When Alf was back in Pog form?
Yeah.
Remember Alf? He's back in pod form.
2000, we have the Razor scooter. Does anybody remember the Razor scooter? I'm not familiar.
Oh, yeah. Those were huge.
I bought one for my son.
Still big.
I wonder how much money Daryl Razor Ray made off of those.
So was this one big enough to count?
I think so. I've actually seen them use those in Nitro Circus. It's really cool. Like the massive ramps. with those things.
I still have kids that ride them to school.
Yeah, they're still big.
Yeah, I'll give it a yes.
Yeah, I'm a yes.
Yeah, I think so.
All right. 2001, we have the pogo stick, which I thought pogo sticks were around way before then.
That was in the 70s, man.
Must have had a resurgence or something.
Well, and there's super pogos, like the ones in the 70s that Scott's talking about. You have to jump to get them into the air. This thing, it says it reaches up to 10 feet. I've seen those videos. Those things are crazy good.
Man, talk about potential injuries and
death.
Yeah. That's as dangerous as lawn darts.
Yeah.
So there's probably some good woo-hoo-hoo.
Right through the window.
So do we want to count this one? I'm going to say no.
I'm going to say no.
So either. Yeah.
Because it's a reissue. It's almost like the Barbie Dreamhouse.
If it had been earlier, you'd say yes, because there was a resurgence of it later showing its popularity.
Right.
But the fact that it's showing up here, I think it's a no.
Yeah,
All
I
right,
agree.
so we'll cut bait on that one. 2002. Does anybody remember the fur real cat?
No.
I do not, and it creeps me out.
Yeah, it just looks gross. All that hair. Cat hair in general is a whip to begin with, but why would I want a fake version
I remember the stories
shedding
about
all
the
over?
For a real guinea pig.
Yeah,
Oh,
didn't
wait.
that one make its way up? Was it Richard Gere or Rod Stewart?
That's Richard Gere. Rod Stewart was the stunt pump.
So we're no's all around for the
Yes.
fur
Yeah,
cat,
no
right?
to that one.
2003, we have the Robo Sapiens.
Having your own personal robot is not science fiction. The technology experts agree. Robo Sapien is here now. Robo Sapien is the future, and the future is now.
Looks like something you would see at a cutting edge, right?
Those things are actually pretty cool. You mean sharper image?
Yeah,
Yeah,
sharper,
sharper
image.
image.
That's what it is.
It's a funny
it's-
name, though.
I think I remember seeing this. Never played with one, but if Gary said they're cool, I'll go with it.
They look cool. I'm going to say yes, too.
These were toys that, by this point, obviously I'm very much into adulthood. I still thought about getting one of those for myself. I just thought they were really cool.
It kind of looks like the Fox NFL robot.
Yes,
was
it
the
does.
Cletus. All right. I think we have enough for a yes. Moving into 2004, another iteration of Nintendo home video games, the Nintendo DS.
Steagle, with a touchscreen, I can beat your ass with one finger.
Nintendo DS. Touching is good.
Good kitty.
Available in stores November 21st. Wild Boys Season 1 DVD on sale now.
Good kitty.
And I remember that was massive when that came out because it had the dual screens and the little...
Nintendo has dominated this list. This is like, what, the fourth one they've had on here?
Yes, it is. Yeah. I have to say yes, just for the cultural impact.
I agree.
Yeah.
Never saw one before.
And that's surprising, Scott, because you were actually one of the Game Boy fans.
Plus, I'm surprised none of your students ever showed up with one of these.
I spent many an hour on the toilet playing that, I'm sure.
Stinker Tinker time.
All right. We're going to get into basically a whole half decade of nothing but video consoles.
Games.
2005, the Xbox 360. I had that. A lot of us had that. For a lot of us, this was how we were getting into Madden. Did Poochie have one of these, Jesse?
I don't think he had the Xbox. I don't.
PlayStation.
Yeah, I
maybe?
think he had the PlayStation. Yeah.
We can probably lightning around these video games, Junior.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think this one's a yes. PlayStation 3 is the next one.
PlayStation.
I think we have to rubber stamp that one if we're going to rubber stamp the
Yeah,
Xbox
I agree.
360. The iPod Touch 2007. Not necessarily a video game system, but one of the forerunners to the smartphone, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
It could get on Wi-Fi, put music on it.
It did have games, yeah.
It's kind of sad that these aren't toys anymore.
Right.
I mean,
They're
I
gadgets
realize
now.
They're lifelines.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not saying that kids didn't get iPad Touches for Christmas. It just,
It's not a toy.
Yeah, it's not a toy.
The Nintendo Wii is 2008.
We would like to play.
That one is significant, I think, because it was the first time that you could kind of interact by using the controller. It made you active as opposed to just sitting down and playing a video game for hours. You actually had to get up and move around. I remember the sports game that came with it where you could bowl and play tennis.
Tennis, yeah.
Boxing.
I can remember the
tennis.
tennis.
I remember it being a big deal where they were using especially the bowling in like nursing homes, give them a way to get active indoors.
I would count this one just because it had such a significant.
I agree.
Yeah.
2009, we have the Zuzu Pets. Anybody remember this?
your son. You will love your Zuzu Pet, cause they're so real without the mess. Zuzu Pet's hamsters are ready for a hamsterific vacation.
No.
Not at all.
It looks spare.
Yeah, it does spare.
They
Those
look
look like
this-
slippers.
I'm going to say no on those.
I agree.
And last but not least, 2010, we have the iPad.
iPad is thin. iPad is beautiful. iPad goes anywhere and lasts all day. There's no right way or wrong way. It's crazy powerful.
Not really a toy at all, right? It's just
Not a toy.
it's a
I
computer.
mean, unless it's what every little kid asks for Christmas.
It's a computer.
Yeah, it
And they
does.
play games on it.
I mean,
Right, they
I
do.
will tell you that my step granddaughter is 11 and she got one for her birthday last year. And that's all she ever does is all of her games, everything is iPad, iPad.
It'd be interesting to know, based on age group, this is how they watch TV. They do not have a console TV. They don't have a wall-mounted TV. They watch everything on their pad.
The mobility factor, I guess, is what does it for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Do we want to say yes to the iPad?
Oh, yeah, I agree. Yeah.
Well, got to include that.
Those were the only ones I had because I figured anything after 2010 were either video game systems or things we wouldn't be familiar with since we were kind of out of the range of playing with toys or
Nobody has a
buying them for others. So let me go ahead and count up the yeses. While I do that, let's just go around the horn and say what was everybody's number one. Sounds like, Gary, for you, it had to have been the bike, right?
It was the bike, easily.
They didn't have the Mattel creepy crawlers,
No.
which I was hoping for, and that I remember loving that. I already talked about having the G.I. Joes and the Johnny West and the Knights. There was during the Apollo mission, I got a lot of space guy that had this stuff. You know, looking back, I really think that having that cassette recorder console was a great gift, but really do think I love that creepy crawlers.
Creepy crawlers.
Get Mattel's new thing maker with creepy crawlers. You can tell it's Mattel. It's swell.
I like the creepy crawlers, obviously, but I hated the fact that it was a consumable.
Yeah.
Because you use it up and it's like, okay, unless mom and dad goes to the store and buys more,
Right.
it's
Exactly.
a useless toy. For me, I got the most mileage out of my Hot Wheels, bikes, you know, and like the G.I. Joes, you know, aside from the Evil Knievel dolls, which I gave away all of my Evil Knievel.
Oh, man. It'd be worth so much money now.
Oh, my gosh. It just kills me.
That would be your retirement package right there.
2 or 3 motorcycles. I had the jump van.
Yeah, I had the van too, Scott. You open it up and it had little like mechanic, all the little tools and everything in there.
It's the Evil Knievel Show featuring Evil Knievel's Scramble Van. And revving up for action, here's our star. What a jump! Evil's riding the amazing stunt cycle. That gyro power sends him over 100 feet at top speed. Loop-de-loop.
Did you have
the
the
jump.
stunt stadium? I had the stunt stadium too.
Oh, man.
It was like a little suitcase and it unfolded.
Mhm.
Yeah.
You know, you were talking about it, Bob. I do remember the Hot Wheels track, right? You'd have to put it together and
Do the
use
loop, the
gravity,
loop.
right? Yeah. And so you had to put it up and there was a little like a clamp so you could put it up there
Yep.
and so you'd have it. You know, I picked what a car I think looked coolest and it was probably the slowest, you know,
Had the
because
wheels
it's
that went
gravity.
like this.
Yeah. My dad, when he had a movie camera, he filmed me and a friend playing that and, you know, the race and everything.
Oh, yeah.
I'm kind of
yeah.
surprised that slot cars never made a list.
Right.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, there's some that I was surprised that He-Man did not make this list.
He-Man and Skeletor each sold separately. Castle Grayskull also sold separately from the Masters of the Universe collection from Mattel.
Yeah.
He-Man was
the one where they
massive.
stretched the guy out.
Stretch Armstrong.
That
That was greatness.
Yeah.
That was huge.
You know, what would be interesting, and I'll make a note to try to do the research, is there is a toy Hall of Fame. And it would be interesting to go through those to discuss, like, is Jax in the Hall of Fame? Because it's kind of spare.
Yeah, Jesse, I don't know who took Jax off the list, but it should be on there somewhere.
So He-Man, G.I. Joe, not the iteration from the 60s, but the 80s version of G.I. Joe and all of the vehicles and tanks that were associated with it. I'm surprised that didn't make the list. And then remote control cars. I'm surprised that didn't make anything. That was one of my favorite toys ever, was the
I got an
remote control
IOU
car.
for a remote control car one time, but I never got the car.
Well, and Nerf footballs.
Yes.
Oh,
yes,
You know,
Nerf.
those were great.
Electric football was spare as hell.
And I got it.
Terrible.
I loved it so
And
much.
we had one, and it was just like spare as hell.
Do you remember the non-electric football that where the linebackers were on rollers and the quarterback had the arm? You could do it a little styrofoam.
Yes.
I had
what
one
was
of those.
cool?
Loved it.
That was similar to that. I had this game, and it was the size of a board game, and you took the lid off, and it was a basketball court that had all these holes in it, and it had a ping pong ball and the little levers. And anytime the ball landed in a hole, you flick the lever to get the ball to shoot into the other end of this court.
To try
I
to
don't
get
remember what that was called, but it was really cool.
All that Hungry Hippo and all the different games that you could buy, Rock and Sock'em Robots.
Oh, that was
And,
greatness. Rock'em Sock'em Robot.
It was really, really cool.
And the precursor to the Game Boy, the Mattel handheld football,
The little
that
green-
with the little red dot. That was
football, baseball, basketball, and car racing, and I had all of them.
Yeah, those were greatness.
Absolutely.
All right, so counting up all the yeses, we had a total of 31,
Wow.
which means Bob, with his guess of 30, wins the Showcase Showdown. So congratulations to Bob on
Good
knowing
job.
so much about toys.
Thank you, Junior. Great topic. As always, a lot of fun. Scott can be reached at Scott_Matula on Twitter. I am at Jesse Jackson DFW. Gary.
At travel_cowboy.
Bob.
At Lukewarm Tallboy.
And Junior, if someone wants to reach us on social media or email, how can they?
Well, they can reach the show on Twitter at How Many Podcasts. You can email us, howmanypodcasts@gmail.com. You can also listen to all of our archive shows, howmanypodcasts.com. If you want to reach me directly, I am on Twitter at Metzgen_Junior. We have a YouTube channel. We have a Facebook page. Lots of different ways to get a hold of us.
All right. Happy holidays to all of you, and the very happiest of New Year's to you and your family. Goodbye.